Abortion advocates have gone completely off the rails. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Well, the Supreme Court didn't release their final opinion today, so we're still waiting. In the meantime, we're going to look at the case abortion advocates make, and I'll show you how that case makes no sense, even apart from their parading in front of justice houses in violation of the law. Before I begin, I want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt, Rhino Hunting. There's a primary in Pennsylvania today. Don't forget. While we're at it, I'll shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. This is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well that even the administrators can't see it. So this is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back-end, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link and give them a try. 28 days free of charge. Can't beat that with a stick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's the latest. The Supreme Court let slide its opportunity today to release an opinion in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. They did release 2 other opinions and a slew of orders, but none of this had anything to do with abortion. Chief Justice Roberts must still be vainly trying to build consensus by brokering a fractured decision. While he dithers, protesters are still parading in front of his and his colleagues' houses. And when they do that, they're breaking the law. Title 18, United States Code, Section 1507. I have a link in the description because ignorance of the law is no defense. The White House is egging them on, and now even Bill Maher can't support that. For that matter, 75% of the country, including 67% of Democrats, don't support parading in front of justice houses, according to the latest Trafalgar polls. Now, that hasn't stopped House Speaker Nancy Pelosi from California from calling the Supreme Court dangerous to freedom and even to families. How the court is supposed to pose a danger to families, she doesn't explain. Maybe Democrats don't explain, they emote. Obviously, the Democrats have drawn the battle line. They think they can drum up support for themselves at midterms, which they won't actually. Any enthusiasm they drum up for their side pales in comparison to the enthusiasm on the other side. But their defenses of abortion itself shows that they are defending the indefensible. The worst single argument today in favor of abortion comes from Representative Katie Porter, also from California. She actually told MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell on his show that inflation justifies abortion. I have a link in the description to a video of their interview. In it, O'Donnell asked her which issue she held more important, abortion or inflation. And she said, and I quote, "Well, I don't think they compare. I think they actually reinforce each other. So the fact that things like inflation can happen and it can become more expensive to feed your kids and to fuel your car is exactly why people need to be able to be in charge of how many mouths they're going to have to feed." Unquote, Representative Porter. Wow. Lifeboat ethics writ large. Never mind that inflation doesn't just happen. Governments and their central banks cause it. And by the logic of Representative Porter's remarks, government should let parents line up their children and shoot one or more of them to save the rest. One expects better than that from doctors, and we're not getting it. The journal Lancet carried a letter on May 14th, actually criticizing Justice Sam Alito for relying on the Constitution. Again, I quote, "What is so shockingly inhuman and irrational about the court's decision is that it bases its decision upon an 18th century document ignorant of 21st century realities for women," unquote. Excuse me, that 18th century document is our governing charter. Justice Alito did his job, and those doctors have come within an inch of not doing theirs. Then we have Sherry Cole, who occasionally writes for the site Justia, which pretends to be neutral. This one quote from her post on the unashamedly leftist philosophy of law site Dorf on Law states her best case. Quote, for the most part, women's role in reproduction is far more demanding physically and psychologically than men's. Specifically, men put out the juice and thereby complete their role. Women, by contrast, endure 40 weeks of some combination of nausea and vomiting, difficulty sleeping, difficulty breathing, the risk of gestational diabetes, the risk of life-threatening preeclampsia, the potential need to experience bed rest, which is anything but restful, the most physically painful experiences at the end, including the risk of vaginal tearing and of more serious complications, followed by the production of milk that can sometimes cause very painful mammary gland blockage if she misses a feeding or pumping, and risk of an abscess. Unquote. Unquote Sherry Cole. Well, I might not be a lawyer, but I do have a medical degree. Now, this takes me back to medical school, and I'm going to throw some technical terms at you, so bear with me. Toxemia of pregnancy is the thing she called preeclampsia. Pre, because full-blown eclampsia without the pre is toxemia with epileptic-like seizures. That is a risk, but a low and manageable risk for most. Gestational diabetes is even rarer. Now here's the point. If we all decide to be as risk-averse as she advocates, the species will die out. Is that what she wants? Everything she mentions, people can manage. And forbidding abortion or denying it federal judicial protection does not mean absolving men of the responsibility for supporting the lives they help create. I would welcome the child support debate. Let the young studs sowing their wild oats step up to the plate. And one more thing about the rape exception. Let somebody dare talk about that to Kathy Barnett, who is seeking the Republican nomination to replace Pat Toomey in the Senate from Pennsylvania. You see, her mother was raped, and that's she. You want to tell her that her mother should have had her killed in the womb? Go ahead. Never mind that. Let's get back to the real issue. The real issue is a fanatical desire to make abortion and even infanticide lawful. The arguments people advance for it turn out to be specious. And when people aren't even interested in arguing, they indulge in such vulgar expressions as calling an unborn child a great snack, as some did at a pro-abortion rally in Phoenix, Arizona. I have links to the description to 2 tweets showing a still picture and a video of that fetus equals great snack sign. I also have a link to the original source article, which has so many tweets, I wouldn't have the space to list them all. What they all show is that abortion advocates have gone off the rails. The very prospect of the Constitution snapping back from mere thing of wax to its proper form has unhinged them. So don't let them fool you. As Justice Alito said, if that's their best, they've got nothing. Links to the description of the article, to Title 18 United States Code, Section 1507, to Representative Porter's interview with Lawrence O'Donnell, to scenes from that Phoenix rally, and to Conservative News and Views. I have another link to the awesome online store, and to BitNext, as I mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.